Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by Ines.
And I'm Leslie. I write as Elle Penelope. And welcome to the show.
Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Inez. We're back with another book.
Yay. We are. We're back in Russia.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot we were back in Russia.
We're back in Russia. Well, I listened to the audiobook, so I feel like I never left Russia.
I half and half. I listened to half of it and I read half of it when I wanted to speed it up a little.
Fascinating to me. Because you're a fast reader.
I'm a very fast reader. That's why I read faster than I listen. So if I want to be listening while I'm washing the dishes or taking a walk, and I come back in, I'm like, I really need to get through this book a little faster. Then I switch to the ebook. And we were talking about Alpha Knight, by the way, which is book 19 in the Side Changeling series. What number is it in Side Changeling Trinity? 4, I believe?
Yeah, it's 4. But we're gonna screw those numbers up. So this is 19. This is 19. And we're in Russia. We got introduced to the Black Edge wolves in I'm forgetting every single character's name.
Well, many books ago, I guess Caleb's book, or they've been mentioned before. And then we saw them in Valentin's book because he was Russia also.
He is just he is
bears.
Like bears. I will at some point go back and reread that book. I loved it so much.
Yeah, Valentin and Silver, and they of course make appearances here, so we don't get to miss them for too long.
Mm-mm. And they make delightful appearances. But this is Selinka and Ethan's book. And Selinka is the alpha of the Black Edge wolves.
And we know they're powerful. I guess they're probably the second most powerful wolf clan next to Snowdancer. And she is a badass female alpha. We've heard about her. I guess we might probably seen a couple of glimpses. I don't remember if we've actually ever seen her before. But I feel like we've had a glimpse or two. But yeah, it's a true meet cute. They meet for the first time on the page. You know how I love an actual first time ever seeing each other meet cute. That is my favorite thing. And he saves her from this attack. So they're at this event.
Instant attack.
And
he barely went into the world and boom.
Yeah. It's right on page 2, probably. And Ethan is an arrow, and he's got a very unique ability. He's a telekinetic, but he can't move things. He manipulates light and photons so that he can kill or put you to sleep somehow with light.
I didn't understand the putting to sleep.
Yeah. And as I'm saying it, I'm like, I realize I don't understand that either. But
honestly, there was a lot of me not understanding the air quotes magic of this particular book. But I didn't care because I liked the couple.
Yeah. There's a little bit hand waving, maybe. I mean, we know Ethan's extremely powerful. He can make his light power into lasers and cut through cars. He can use it as a scalpel, and also put people to sleep in some manner. So he puts everyone else to sleep but Selinka in order to save her from this attack. There's 2 attackers.
All of them. He's saving so they're at Silver had is working on the Accords and trying to get everybody together. Backstory that didn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I thought this was an E event. This was something for the E's.
Yes, it was for the E's. My bad. This is for the E's. They're meeting on Silver's territory, and Ivy Jane is organizing it. And so there's all these E's and all these arrows there. And it's this was fascinating to me because we do learn very quickly that this attack was carried out by E's.
Yes. And I thought that they were going to be like brainwashed or something. They were in their right minds. Like they weren't being controlled mentally, basically. They were like, yeah, I did this because they had their own E reasons.
But other people were hurting and they thought that they could stop the hurting.
By killing?
By killing them.
Yeah, so sure. But we also learned very early on that Ethan is a traitor. He's in on this in some way. He's in on it in that he agreed to do something that he thought up front he probably wasn't going to do, but he was just like, let me see if this makes me feel anything.
He
Because
was curious.
he was curious about if this traitorous activity would help him break through the gray fog that has been, around his emotions since he was a child. So he has another tragic, tortured, literally, physically abused childhood with Ming Laban, another one of those. Just like,
why can't he just die?
I know. When is Ming going to get his just desserts? There's, Ethan wants to kill Ming, but he's been told by Aiden that these snow dancer wolves have to have, dibs on killing Ming, and they're getting closer. So he's like, well, if the wolves don't do it, I'll step in.
And I feel like Ethan has a bigger claim to the killing weapon than the snow dancers do. Well,
I mean,
this was because of Sierra, thanks. What Ming did to Sierra as a child. Sienna as a child. Sienna, who lives in the Sierras.
Yes, exactly.
We'll never get that right. This is what Ming did to her as a child, but he also did the same kind of ugly to Ethan. So I think they should really share.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people who could share killing. They should do like a group. What's the Agatha Christie one where they all kill the person? Like there's 10 murderers, they each stab him once, and they don't know. Anyway.
I don't know that. But okay. I'm about to jump all over the map, which we do sometimes, and I'm not going to do that right now because this book, when we have this meet cute, which Leslie loves, we also have an insta bond.
Insta love, insta mating. It's not insta love actually, because they do not fall in love immediately, but they're drawn to each other and they mate. Selinka's wolf mates him basically when they first touch. Like he pulls her in to save her from this attack, and that's it. The wolf is like, nope, this is the dude. You don't know him. You're not going to get to know him because we're mated.
Yep. I didn't think it was going to work. I was wrong. I didn't think insta bonding like that, like insta mating. Like we've been taught through 18 other books that there's a dance that has to happen when there's mating, and there was no dance. So I'm thinking, how are you going to do this on page like 5? We're just told, okay, fine, meet cute early. I'm all for that. But now we are literally bonded. There is no and I love a marriage of convenience. I love when you throw people together and they just have to be. But this was like swoop, lock, keyed, thrown away.
But even before that, like pages 1 through 4, they were so drawn to each other, And I love that for them. They are confused. Like Ethan is just now opening up to awakening to feelings.
Yeah.
He has been worse than silent because he was so traumatized, and it's so intense. I wrote that this is such an intense opening. You're just in it from the first sentence, and then the mating happens so early, and it's like, oh, I was just intrigued. I was here for it.
You know what else is interesting too is that because he's just trying to understand emotions, but he's also been raised in darkness because his power is over light. That they had to raise him in darkness.
They chose to, in order to control him and to make sure he didn't
control him,
which he eventually did escape. He eventually killed the people who were torturing him, and everyone except for Ming, and escaped.
Yeah. So it's an insta bond. They have to figure this out while a ticking time bomb is going off because they have to figure out who did this. Why did this happen? But that's not the only thing that's happening in this as well. Of course not. We have all the external plot.
Yeah. The other ticking time bomb is Ethan believes he has got scarab syndrome and it's incurable and he's going to be going mad. And I knew that they had talked about scarab syndrome, but since it's been like 3 weeks since I read the last book, I was like, what is that again? And it's a thing that Pax Marshall has, which in the previous book made him lose control of his powers and have these weird attacks. So Ethan is he has this really strong shield keeping his powers together, but he thinks it's going to kill him and it's going to just explode his brain or something.
That's only the second time bomb that's about to go off. The first one was who are the E's that are trying to kill these people,
and why?
And then what Ethan and the scarab, but then a wolf. The wolves have an issue happening as well. One of theirs gets murdered and they have to figure that out as well. It was external plot. And I honestly, sorry, but I didn't care. I was just into to Ethan and Selinka.
Oh, see, I liked the external. I liked, the mystery of who killed her wolf lieutenant, and because I like a mystery, and that's bringing them together, and you're doing that as they're learning about each other, as he's being introduced to the den, and the consortium is always my kind of least favorite thing. Like we're getting the architect of the consortium, who we know now is a female psi, and has scarab syndrome apparently, and has these delusions of grandeur. So she's doing some stuff that, yes, I cared a little bit less about, but I did, because we didn't know Emmanuel, who's the wolf lieutenant who gets killed. We never met him. Emotionally, I didn't care, but you know how much you imagine if any of those lieutenants who you do know in the other packs got killed, how devastating it would be. So I was here for them figuring that out.
I will say that was a callous statement of me saying I don't care, and it's also very kind of true. But what Nalini's saying is masterful at is she made us. We never meet Emmanuel, but she makes us care in the flashbacks, in the commentary, in the feelings of all the people. She built found family with someone who just died, and that was brilliant.
Yeah, because you can tell how beloved he was by everyone, including Selinka. So that was really great.
She's really good at this, and I feel like she has some, for lack of a better word, shortcuts, because I think she understands not only her characters and her world so much. I think she understands her readers so much. There was another dog.
A dog. I was about to talk about the dog. Ethan collects a dog randomly. Just dog comes up to him and never leaves.
But it works.
Yeah.
It literally works. We talk about Save the Cat, where you make a character empathetic. It works like a literal animal, and it works. And there wasn't just an animal. He also pets a human, the little girl.
Small children come to him like magnets. They want to be picked up. They want to be, he, there's a reveal at the end about his extra powers. And I was like, of course, she was laying the groundwork the whole time, because these just like creatures and animals and children, everyone loves Ethan. Ethan is just like the biggest teddy bear.
Even though he doesn't think he's a teddy bear, even though he's very stiff.
Yeah.
But he attracts people to him. And he didn't know this, of course, because he was alone and in the dark and in silence and in solitude most of his life. And once he comes out as a light, it was like he was a light. He was literally a light.
Yeah, he's like a beacon to everyone. Come here. So he's also having these nosebleeds as a result of what he believes is his scarab syndrome. And Selinka, he's trying to support her. The other thing that was cool is, like, once he realized, he felt the mating bond go into effect. And he realized what happened. He's like, oh, I belong to you now. I've made my choice. And then she repeats it several times. I made my choice. Ethan made his choice. He is hers now. He will do anything for Selinka. And at first she's a little bit like, wait, what? Like a little off, but like he would do anything. But it doesn't matter. He doesn't even know her. He's like, it's done. I'm here. He's all in from the beginning. There is no romantic conflict, which kind of makes it like a cozy, I guess, in that plot line. And I don't always need romantic conflict. I guess that's kind of one of my things. Like when you have so much external conflict to the relationship, that can replace the relationship conflict for me, especially in these sort of more modern romances where they're doing away with dark moments in the same way that they have been. We're like, yeah, we're going to put a lot of stuff against your relationship, but you guys are never going to break up. There's no third act breakup. And I do like that.
Yeah. It's interesting that we are both picking up on the same thing and having slightly different reactions to it. Like we both liked this book. The reasons that I liked it was because, I didn't have to deal with any kind of conflict. I could watch these two people get to know each other. And I feel like you were like, there was all of this external conflict. And how interesting was it to watch them navigate through it?
Yeah, together. I mean, I like a pining hero that's on my id list, and I like a very loyal hero. I like someone who's just like down for whatever from day one. Those are things that really speak to me. So this book is full of that.
It is absolutely full of that. And I'm really interested in Selinka as an alpha female, because she's not the first one that we've met. Or the first one that we spent a lot of time with either. We spent time with Oh gosh, the water shifters.
Oh, Mion.
Mion. We spent time with Mion, who I want more of.
We want her book.
She fascinates me. But Selinka fascinates me in the exact same vein. She was very strong. Physically, mentally, she was capable. She was a leader, and they knew she was going to be a leader at almost at birth, like at a very young age. She completely leapfrogged her father. She took over leadership from her grandfather, which caused some rifts with her father. I'll come back around to that. But at the same time, as she's so incredibly strong, you also see how nurturing she is. It was almost um, like, okay, this is the nurturing chapter. This is Selinka being a strong, badass chapter. This is her intellect and leadership abilities chapter. We just kept seeing it layer by layer. And it's like we didn't forget that this is who this woman is. And she was very feminine and very desirable to her mate. It was just so well done. And I think that might be a good way to think about it, because I think it would have been hard if we kept seeing that she was all things at once. To me, it really felt like we're watching her be strong. We're watching her now. We're watching her be feminine. Now we're watching her be a leader. Now we're watching her literally kick butt, and it worked.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, but yeah, I think you're right. It was just she's just extremely competent. Being alpha doesn't like she's born for it, doesn't stress her out at all. It doesn't seem to be a hardship, but she is looking for a way to incorporate Ethan to make sure he's accepted and finds a place in the pack. And he does very quickly. Like the lieutenants all accept him. There's no real conflict on that in that regard. For we're accepting an arrow, this Psy arrow into our midst. Oh yeah, pretty, yeah, come on.
It literally was like, yeah, come on. And I love to, because you would think that if this woman is so dominant, that the male would have to be submissive, and Ethan is not submissive. He
Right.
just was happy. He was happy to watch her dominate. It was like a turn on. It was like warming his heart. And I always think of this moment in Twilight, the films. I can't remember if it was in the books, but there's this moment in Twilight where we have watched Bella be this meek girl. Of course she's like mentally strong, but then in some instances she's just a complete teenager. But when she gets turned into a vampire and she learns that Jacob has imprinted on her daughter, and she goes for him. And everybody in the Cullen family are looking at Edward like, dude, are you gonna do something? And he's like, no, look at her. She's amazing. And he's just watching his wife wail upon her best friend. And he's just smiling and grinning. I think one, because of the history between Jacob and Edward, but also because he's just like, look at my wife. And whenever I see a strong woman, and then I look behind her at her man, and he has a grin like that, I'm like, Edward and Vampire Bella.
Yeah, yeah. I think Ethan definitely was just delighted. They talk about him being the knight to her queen, and he's just super happy to do that. So yeah, like okay, their relationship going off without a hitch. Selinka's father is a problem. They're investigating the death of Emmanuel. There's this cult, this sort of wolf cult, which felt a little underbaked for what it was. But Emmanuel had wanted this cult to be allowed nearby because he thought they were able to be saved. And so, she's honoring that, honoring his memory. But these cult kids, and the cult is led by a wolf named Blaze, and it's got Psy humans and wolves and other changelings in it as well. And they're just causing mischief and causing drama. And at one point, they try to burn down some trees. And yeah, that wasn't my favorite plot line. And the resolution felt a little too easy because it was like, who else was it going to be, really?
Well, I don't know. Because I can remember it because I was paying some attention to it. I think what that plot line showed us again, pack justice.
Hmm.
And I felt like I needed that, because right now the justice that I think everybody wants at this point in these books, at this point in the series, is who's gonna kill Ming LeBon. I think that's what we want. But we got to see that justice meted out by
Mm-hmm.
Manuel's. Well, we got to know that justice was meted out by Manuel's family with the kids who came and were being mischievous. That got meted out and that got dealt with. And you saw that they weren't the changelings weren't like one size fits all kind
Mm-hmm.
of punishment. I like that too. The changelings got a different punishment than the humans, than the Psy. And then the ringleader got everything that was coming to him by being ripped apart by the people that he hurt most. And there was no judge and jury. This you did this. This is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and we saw Selinka give out the punishment to, so the cult leader ended up being the one who killed Emmanuel, and she allowed Emmanuel's family to kill him, and then her own father was involved, and we'd seen how painful it was. Her father was just a jerk, and she did not kill him. She could have, but he was still part of the pack, but he was exiled, and he was like, "What am I supposed to do?" He's like, "You got to figure that out, man, because
Yeah.
you did some
I want
dirt."
I want to talk about father figures for a minute because
Mhm.
we had Selinka's father who was awful. He was jealous of his daughter. Like I
Yeah,
I, I can't even understand that. Being one, you did not show up
right.
as an alpha. You just not was it was not in you. So then you bully your daughter. That was well done making us hate this man. Then we also had Selinka's grandfather, who was like a perfect example of a father figure. Even when doubt was cast upon him, like that he could have potentially had dirty hands. There was a
Mhm.
plot point where Blaze, whose father was he was previously in the pack.
Right.
I didn't really understand all of that, but his father was basically
Had stolen from
actually
the pack. His
had
father was like
stolen
the accountant to Selinka's grandfather, and Selinka's grandfather trusted him, but he embezzled a bunch of money, so Selinka's grandfather kicked him out. Then he has these kids, and he poisons them against the pack, and that's why Blades creates this cult and has this whole revenge plan.
you do you boo. He does all this. So his father poisoned him, and Blaze was trying to poison all these other people for his revenge. So you had these poor figures of fathers. You had this one good figure of a father. You also had Ming in there who was just god awful. But
Yeah.
then it was interesting to me because there was mention of Ethan's parents as well
Mhm.
and how they failed him. His parents failed him, thought he was a monster, and Ethan kills his parents.
But they deserved it. I can't remember if they were helping to, like, abuse him or harm him,
They
but
were abusing him.
yeah, whatever it was, they deserved it, in the book Justice.
But again, I this is when I feel like Nalini Singh is showing her craft, where in a couple of paragraphs, she made us love Emmanuel, who we never met, never will meet. She made all these different father figures move their kids in a direction that culminates on the page and explodes in front of our eyes because they all treated their children differently, and these were the consequences of that. That to me, I whatever Nalini Singh, you are not a pantser. You just aren't. I can't make it make sense.
I don't know why you have such a hard time understanding it.
That's so freaking intricate. Like you had to be laying so much groundwork, or you had to be rewriting this book a lot because it was so incredibly you like. Speaking of Agatha Christie, like I would have needed to have like the lines of thread and the
The
thumbtacks.
murder board.
Right, I would have need to have a murder board for all these murders that happened in these lives that were saved.
Uh-huh.
I
It was
just
really well done, and it did come together. It came full circle really nicely, and as did really bringing in the last book. So Memory and Alexei. Alexei's actually got some cousins in this wolf pack, which we find out because he's Russian from way back when, and we've got that murder plot line kind of wrapped up. But the big thing in the story is, can they save Ethan? And we get Sasha comes in and says, "Hey, Ethan, you don't actually have scarab syndrome." Or did Memory say that? One of the two. Ease.
Sasha memory was kept she kept saying there's something familiar about
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, they both felt Ethan and Memory both felt something familiar.
but memory was triggering Ethan.
Yeah. When he goes to see her. Another thing related to this that she does is there's a lot of like, they're about to do something and then, wait, Ethan, we need you in the sign that because something's happening. So
Yeah.
or he's about to get help and then, oh no, you have to drop everything and jump into the sign net and fix this thing.
Because he can see the spiders.
Yeah, these parasites. He's the only one. Both him and Memory end up being the only one to see these.
Wait, couldn't Nikita see them?
And then Nikita, yes. So there's those three, but that was later. Initially, it was just Ethan and Memory, and they're trying to figure out, can anyone else see them? And there are these parasites that are on Psy brains in the Psy net, but they're somehow invisible to everybody else.
Oh my god,
There's a lot happening.
Cool. That was not cool. I did not like that. As a crafter, woohoo, well done. Now that it's in my head, I do not like it.
Yeah, I can see these little creatures. It's gross. And we do find out that the architect of the consortium is the one who's spreading this virus. They bring Nikita in because they think it's a mental virus, and it is. It's just take a tiny little virus, which is an organism, and blow it up to the point where you can see it like a spider, and it's attacking people, and it's horrifying.
We were talking before we got on about Deadlands, and in the very first Deadlands book, Katie Wild's Deadlands book, the magic that they have there, it has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And so the consequence of that happens very early in that book is that a small spider grows big. Yeah. What is it with you authors and spiders?
Ooh, I don't want to. And you see these on Instagram. If there's any listeners in Australia where y'all have those gigantic spiders, and I'm seeing them on Instagram, I'm never going to Australia. I think Ines is trying to get me to go to Rare. I'm like, there's too many things that kill you on that island. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I will just wear my pants tucked into my boots and stay in the city.
I want a full bodysuit.
Or I want Ethan to, be able to just vanquish all the spiders all around me.
Yeah, because he can kill them. But their sign net is in really terrible state. Things are going really badly.
Really bad, really fast.
Yeah, they're devolving.
Which is interesting because I feel like Nalini Singh keeps solving a problem with the sign net, especially with a new character with new powers, and then she speeds up the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm just along for the ride at this point. I'm along for the ride, and I'm waiting for Mion's book.
Yes. I mean, there's so many issues with the sign net. The honeycomb is kind of failing now. The net mind and the dark mind have devolved. It's cracking up. There's bugs everywhere. They need more humans, to fix it. There's all these problems, and it's like
people are dying. Psy are dying.
Yeah. Every time there's some sort of, all these times when Ethan was being taken to fix things with Caleb and Aiden because they can't do it alone, and they find out he can help people die. So it's bad. Stakes are being raised.
But by the end of this book, Ethan and Selenka, they are as tight as ever. The bond that happened immediately blossoms into love. Of course it was gonna, but they both find their places in each other's hearts and in the pack as well. I thought that was incredibly well done. So we know that this is found family. Ethan doesn't know how to be family, but he learns it through his dog, through the little kids, and through and the kids, like he starts to go and work in the nursery.
Yes, she asks him to. She's like, Ethan, go to the nursery. He's like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, but what? Because we find out at the end that he's an E. He's an empath.
Yeah.
And it was hidden. The reason why he thought he had scarab syndrome is because Ming had built these shields around his empathic ability, and they were slowly killing him. And they were messing up the mating bond as well. So once he allows these shields to rise and he learns that he can control this, the mating bond clears up, all the jagged parts go away, and he's a telekinetic, but he's he's almost a cardinal level empath. He's incredibly strong. And that is beautiful also. It makes everything make sense. Why small animals and small children were just flocking to him.
It was a good entry. Like I said, I did not dislike this book at all. I was more interested in watching these two be instantly attached to one another and then fall in love, because that's my favorite kind of story. You have no choice. Now make it work.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because they make a point to say that the bond isn't love, that the mating bond is like honesty and trust and connection, but they had to still fall in love, and they do, and it's still great. Um, for me, I'm glad they brought Nikita in because although I knew Nikita isn't the architect, there is some overlap in the way that they think about things.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
because I don't know if we've met this architect person or if it's going to be a brand new character when she's revealed that we haven't heard of, but there is some Nikita-esque things there, and I knew in my heart that it wasn't, but it was good to have it very concrete and be like, okay, we know Nikita. She's difficult, but she's still a good person, kind of.
She's a person.
She'll do good things because of her own reasons, because of love that she has for her daughter and her
granddaughter.
Maybe not a good person, but
that's it. And I really want to see, like, if somebody tries to do something to Anthony Kyriakis, what's she gonna do?
Right?
We saw what he would do when she got sick.
Oh yeah, he stepped up.
He stepped up. Anyway.
But yeah, there's a lot more sex in this book than there has been. There's power sex, there's forest sex. She's, their connection is very strong, and it's I like it when she doesn't feel the need to. Every book must have 3 sex scenes. It's like the couple, their relationship, whatever's happening, the growth of the couple makes it so like, okay, do we need a sex scene? What is the sex scene doing? How is it bringing their relationship forward?
It needs to be integral to the plot. Someone asked in an author Facebook group, someone who wrote Spicy said, I've been thinking about just pulling the spicy scenes out of my books and selling them as clean. And it doesn't work. It's not going to work. And if it does work, then there's a problem with your book. Because if the love scenes are not integral to your plot, then why are they there? Why are they there? And the same if you want to do in the reverse. If you want to simply just add some spicy scenes to your sweet romance, it's not going to work. It's literally just inserting it in there.
Yeah. I mean, when you're skipping, and there's books where I skip the sex scene because it's like, they didn't make it integral. And so, yeah, Nalini Singh always makes them integral. They're not skippable. Things are happening. These people are getting closer. They're learning about each other. Even the things that they do are out of their character growth and their relationship growth. And that's the best way to have spicy scenes. So,
or kissing scenes in general.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I liked them together. I like Ethan. I'm a big fan of Arrows in general. We get a lot of Caleb in this. We get glimpses of Caleb. It's always nice. At one point, he teleports him somewhere and Selink is about to kill him because he teleported into a place he wasn't supposed to, like the middle of their territory, and then he leaves like right before her claws. Reach out and grab him. I was like, yes. Anyway. Yeah, I really did enjoy this one. The love story, it just connected for me.
I'm glad that it connected. I just love Nalini Singh's world, so I'm always happy to be in this world. I think when we get to the end and we're finally caught up and we're waiting for more books to release, I'm probably going to go back and read like the fan stuff on her website where she writes little short stories.
Yeah, like the stories that we've missed a bunch, and some novellas too. So there's more out there. I know she's slowed down now because she's writing more thrillers.
Yeah.
There's some people's books I wanted to reread. There was someone I was like, oh, I think I'll reread. I can't remember who it is now, but it's a couple of couples that I want to go, touch again when we're done with the new ones to us.
Bears for me. Bears.
More bears.
More bears. So, Leslie, speaking of books that you want to reread, it is that time of year where, at least in the US, the weather is getting cooler and you want to put on your sweater and snuggle up with a warm cup of cocoa. And it's prime time for rereads and cozy reading some of your favorites. What are you rereading these days?
Well, I actually reread 2 books. I did my yearly reread of Darkness Dawns by Diane Duvall recently, which
What's
is
that about?
It's the beginning of her Immortal Guardians series, which is urban fantasy romance. I guess paranormal romance, but I would call it a little bit more urban fantasy. It's a long-running series. It's still going on. And it is basically immortal guardians who appear to be vampires, but they're actually vampire hunters. I love it. I reread the first book, like I said, every year. And I pick some other books and skim through them as well. So I highly recommend that. I'm sure I've done that before in many venues. The other thing I reread was the audiobook just came out for Katie Wilde's The Midwinter Mail Order Bride, which is the first in her Deadland series, which are short fantasy romance books. And they're really well done. I really enjoy Katie Wilde. There's a lot of different genres. She does contemporary, she does motorcycle, she does fantasy, she does paranormal. So
whatever she wants.
Whatever she wants, she does it all well. She's an auto buy for me. And these hadn't been in audio before, except one was on that podcast.
Read Me Romance?
Yeah. One of these Deadland books had been on, but not this one. So yeah, I enjoyed this. This is, the first in the series. I really enjoyed this series. Highly recommend this book as well.
I've got that queued up as well for a reread. I reread that book earlier. Not by accident. I was looking for something. I just started reading and didn't stop. But yeah, I'm excited to listen to the audiobook because it'll be like a new experience.
Yeah. What else are you reading?
I am rereading Lothair by Cressley Cole. That iconic, and I have the iconic. I had to go buy this. If you remember the iconic cover with the man with the white hair and the red eyes, that was on like bus stops or buses in New York. Do you remember this?
I mean, yeah,
it was a big deal. The first edition that I had of that book got eaten by termites.
Oh no!
Awful. So I went and I got another edition, but I listened to it because Robert Petkoff.
I know you love him.
I just adore Robert. Yeah. So I'm rereading that, and I swear, like I just it's whenever you're rereading something, it's like you pick up things that you didn't, you forget things, or maybe you have them in a different order in your mind.
Yeah.
And rereading is the best. So I'm rereading that, but also it's about time for me to reread Bethany by Jennifer Cruzy.
Ooh,
Bethany, it's my favorite. Bethany. So Lothair is vampire romance. He is the enemy of old. It's quintessential enemies to lovers. These two hate each other. His goal is to kill this heroine because she's being possessed by a demon who he thinks is his fated mate. And he has to kill the human so that the demon can take over. And the human, Ellie, she clearly doesn't want to die. She and Lothair just absolutely detests her because he thinks she's a lowly human. Humans have done his family dirty in the past, and he thinks they're nothing but animals. And Ellie is truly his fated mate, not the demon who is inhabiting her body. But it's knocked down, dragged out, trying to kill each other, enemies to lovers. And you're just thinking, because they even say in the book, like when a vampire in this world, they would never do a percent of the things that he has done to her. How is she ever going to forgive him? And that is really the crux of the book. How is she ever going to forgive him? So that's Lothair, which is just as delicious. And I know how he forgives. I know how she forgives him, but I'm like 80%, and I'm like, oh my God, she's never going to forgive him. But then Bethany is a complete 180 from that. Bethany is like it sounds. It is so it's this friend group, these two friend groups basically kind of crash into each other in a bar because two of them like are falling in love with each other, but they're not the hero and heroine of the story. The hero and heroine of the story are their best friends. And the guy, the men around the guys, he's like a ladies' man, like a womanizer. And so they bet some of the other guys in the bar bet him that he can't pull the frumpy, chubby best friend. She wasn't frumpy, that's the wrong word. The chubby best friend with the best shoes in the whole entire world. So they're betting him that, and he's like, no, I'm not going to take that bet. What? I'm not a kid. I'm not going to take that bet. But she doesn't hear him say that. She just hears them saying, I bet you can't get her. And so she thinks that this is a bet. And he's the whole time, he's like, I didn't take the bet. I did not take the bet. And she doesn't believe him. She tries to play him. And of course, he falls in love with her. And she falls in love with him. And then this bet absolutely comes back and bites them both in the butt after they fell in love with each other, even though he did not take the bet. Everyone's behaving as though he did take the bet. And it is just absolutely, it's really women's fiction. It really is women's fiction. But the love story is so good that I just reread it sometimes twice a year.
It's good to have a comfort read or 2 or 10 to come back to when you need them.
1 a month. Make it 12.
Yeah, why not? So many new books, though. Sometimes I feel a little guilty, but not too guilty.
No. Guys, we would love to know what you are rereading as the weather starts to get cozy this time of year. In addition to leaving us a comment on YouTube with your thoughts about this episode, you can also leave us and our other listeners some recommendations. But we want to thank you so much for joining us. Please do let us know what you think. You can also rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And check out our book schedule on our website, inkonmagic.net, to read along with us. We're getting closer to the end, sniff, sniff, of the Side Changeling series until she releases more books. So, yes, read along with us as we barrel through to the end, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.